স্যার আমরা এখন শুরু করতে পারি।
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the clinical class for the postgraduate student. So we are having with us invited examiner as Professor Chaudhry Meshkat Ahmed sir from BSMMU. And also we have in-house examiner Professor Fazilatun-Nisa Malik, Chief Consultant Cardiologist and Interventional Cardiologist. She is also Director Academic Affairs. So we actually, and we also have Dr. Dhiman Bonik, Associate Professor, National Heart Foundation Hospital. So today we're going to present a case for the long case. The case will be presented by Dr. Faisal. Madam, for the thing.
So let me begin by thanking Professor Meshkat for joining us for this clinical class. He has really been a pillar of support in helping us enhance clinical studies in our institute during this pandemic, and we're truly grateful to him. We also have with us Ishraq, who's being the moderator, and Dr. Dhiman Bonik, who is going to be a co-examiner with me. So basically, we would like to learn from Professor Meshkat. And without further ado, I would request our student, today we are having a long case. And so what are the intricacies of a long case? Now, the importance is that in a long case, it's obviously, the term is long case, but within 6 minutes, the examinee has to highlight what are important for this case. And this requires quite a bit of juggling and quite a bit of presence of mind to do that. So without further ado, I would request our examinee to present his long case. And it is my understanding from Dr. Shamim, who is one of our most energetic registrars here, that you have to present this case within 6 minutes. Right. So you can start now.
Assalamu alaikum.
Madam, assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, assalamu alaikum. কিছু বলবেন? হ্যালো।
জি না ম্যাডাম, আপনাকে সালাম দেওয়ার জন্য।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম মেশকাত ভাই, ভালো আছেন আপনি?
জি আলহামদুলিল্লাহ।
থ্যাংক ইউ। তাহলে আপনার কাছ থেকে শেখার জন্যই আমরা আসছি। তো আপনি ইনশাআল্লাহ ওকে গাইড করেন, আর লং কেস প্রেজেন্ট করা শুরু করলো আর কি। হ্যাঁ, থ্যাংক ইউ।
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Mohammad Wasik Faisal, MD thesis student. I'm going to present the history of my patient. Mr. Ali, 35 years old gentleman, hailing from Dinajpur. He's a non-diabetic, normotensive, and smoker, presenting with the complaints of progressive breathlessness for last 2 years. Initially, the breathlessness was during moderate to severe exertion, but from last 4 months, it is progressive, and the breathlessness is even during mild exertion or ordinary household activities. The breathlessness is not associated with any cough, hemoptysis, or any swelling of the legs or any other body parts, or any bluish discoloration of skin, foot, nails, or lips. The breathlessness, it is not associated, and the breathlessness has no diurnal or seasonal variation. It is not associated with intake of any food or exposure to any dust, pollens, or cold. He has no history of any bronchial asthma among his family members. He has no history of any breathlessness during lying flat or during at late hour of night. He has a history of occasional palpitation for last 1 year. Initially, the palpitation was during moderate to severe exertion or during anxiety, but for last 2 to 3 months, he felt the palpitation even with mild exertion. And the palpitation is usually associated with some sort of chest pain, left-sided chest pain, but this pain has no radiation, or it is not associated with any shortness. It is not associated with any shortness of breath on that time. It is not associated with any dizziness or blackout or syncope. During these episodes of palpitation usually last for a few minutes, and it is relieved by taking rest. And during this palpitation, he felt that his heartbeat was regular and he didn't feel any misbeat during that time. He has occasional history of low-grade intermittent fever for last 1 year, with the highest recorded temperature of about, he noticed 101 degree Fahrenheit. This fever is not associated with any chills, rigors, or sweating. This fever is not also associated with any cough or sputum or hemoptysis. He has no history of any weight loss, or his appetite is good. He has no history of any contact with tubercular patient, or he is not traveling to any malaria or cardiology or endemic area. On query, he has a history of repeated respiratory tract infection for last 1 year and multiple joint pain during this time. His episode lasted for almost 1 week, and it is relieved by taking some medications, but he couldn't mention the name. This is his first hospital administration, but before this administration, he visited some local doctors, and he underwent 2-time echocardiographic evaluation in Dinajpur, and he was taking some medications like penicillin and warfarin, he mentioned, for last 2 months. He has no history of any syncope or blackout, or he has no history of any difficulty in swelling or any hoarseness of voice. He was immunized as per EPI schedule. He was from a middle class family and lives in a Paka house with good sanitation and water supply. He has 1 child, 1 son and 1 daughter. All his children and his wife is in good health, and there is no such illness among them. So this is my history of my patient.
Laksir. না তাহলে যে মেশকাত স্যার লং কেসে যখন আপনারা লং কেস নেন হ্যাঁ ডোন্ট ইউ এক্সপেক্ট ইজ দিস ইনাফ হোয়াট হি ডিড অর শুড হি হ্যাভ অলসো গন টু দ্য এক্সামিনেশন এন্ড টু হিজ ডায়াগনোসিস what do you expect from a examinee when they are asked to present a long case?
Madam, when they present the long case, it always depends upon the examiner. At the times, the examinee, when at the middle of his presentation, examiner may have some question, then he can interrupt in that portion. But generally, we expect the examinee to complete the whole clinical examination and diagnosis.
Exactly, because here we were not stopping you. So what we expected is you've just given us the history of present illness, you've given us the history of his family history and his socio-economic history. And you've also given a bit of drug history or history of medication. But you have not at all touched upon the examination findings. So this history would be considered incomplete if we were just there sitting and we had asked you to present this history. Another thing that I would just like to highlight, because this is a learning experience. So rather than just, giving you, another thing is I think the posture is very important for an examinee. Today you looked very hesitant and you looked like you were frightened. Huh? So you were bending a bit. Now for examination purposes, you should not be like this. You were like this, like you were embarrassed or you were frightened. So you have to be upright. The posture has to be straight. And you have to appear confident, but you cannot afford to look arrogant. So there's a fine balance between looking fearful, looking arrogant, or looking confident. What we expect from an examinee is that they should look confident. So in your case, I would say you were a bit you were not that confident like you usually were. Maybe it was, you were a bit intimidated by Professor Meshkant and all of us, but you were a bit, another thing, we cannot afford to mix Bangla and English words. Like he said, Hashpatal. You can't do that. It's a long case and the medium is English. So you would have to say hospital. And you said administration twice. It was, he had hospital admissions, not administrations. So we have to be very focused on what we say, and our words should be absolutely clear. So that's my bit on his presentation. Dhiman, you have any comments?
In another point, in addition to the madam comments, you have mentioned injection penicillin and injection warfarin.
No
Warfarin
injection, no,
is,
sir.
injection warfarin is not available in the market. I think so. So you must clearly take history from the patient, whether it is warfarin or other.
Or like a slip of tongue. He was so,
Warfarin, sir,
he was
tablet
so, in the moment that he mispronounced the words. So, Professor Meshkat, any final comments on this? Then we can ask him to tell us his examination findings.
No, madam, no comment. Probably I'll be able to ask him question as regard his presentation, history taking at the later part of.
No,
after
why don't you do it right now? Why don't you do it right now? Then we can go
Okay.
to the examination findings. Yes.
Okay. You have given the history of shortness of breath. You have also given the history of palpitation. In both cases, dizziness and transient loss of consciousness could have been important. You could mention, after mentioning both the symptom, of course, while you were describing about the episode of palpitation, you mentioned about the absence of dizziness during that period, but you have not really mentioned about whether during shortness of breath or any time during his ailment he ever had the history of syncope. But that is not that important. The most important part when you are taking a history of shortness of breath is negative history of whether the patient have had a nocturnal dyspnea or the patient had a paroxysmal dyspnea, because there are only very few causes for nocturnal and paroxysmal dyspnea. But if you take exertional dyspnea as a whole, there is whole lot of causes for exertional dyspnea. So during your history, you should be able to pinpoint actually what we are thinking about the diagnosis. It is very important that you mention about the nocturnal dyspnea and the paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. Orthopnea.
Didn't mention the name nocturnal dyspnea or orthopnea. I told that he has no history of shortness of breath during lying posture or during at late hour of night.
Actually, he said he has no diurnal variation. And once he mentioned about lying down, you did do that. But you see, this is the point. You have to make yourself heard to the examiner. So this was, your whole presentation was coming out as hesitant and not sure of yourself. So you should have been very firm, because as Professor Meshkat has rightly pointed out, patient becoming breathless on lying down or suddenly waking up from his sleep because he was feeling so breathless, this has very important correlations. So you have to mention firmly and clearly that there is no history of him getting breathless while he is lying down in his bed, or he does not also wake up during sleep with a sensation of breathlessness. So this should have been cleared.
As regard your history on joint involvement, generally we try to find out what is the nature of the joint involvement which could relate to the cardiac disease. Since your patient is a male, we also have in our back in our mind is a possibility of seronegative arthritis. So the nature of joint involvement could be important part of your history. You have mentioned about the short duration of this involvement, which again goes against recurrence of rheumatic arthritis. Arthritis due to rheumatic fever or arthralgia due to rheumatic fever. Because generally, when they have the recurrence of rheumatic fever and it manifests as arthralgia or arthritis, it has got a prolonged period of duration. But in case of some seronegative arthritis, you will have shorter duration. So for this particularly this patient, you should be able to connect all these things together. And as Madam rightly has said, you never had looked confident on. অবশ্য ম্যাডাম আমি আপনার কারণে আমি নিজেও একটু নার্ভাস আজকে কথা বলতে। we expect examiner কিছুটা নার্ভাস থাকবে। It's all right. তবে you should look confident, at least when you speak out, এটা clear হওয়া উচিত that you are confident, that you were not.
তাহলে এই যে প্রফেসর মেশকাত আপনি এখন কি you would ask him to give his presentation on his findings now? Can we go to that now?
Madam, actually, he didn't. do it.
Madam, they have got a different student who examined the patient and he.
Okay. Right. Okay, great.
Thank you, sir.
So, Dr. Nurul, please. Dr. Nurul is one of our student, MD Phase B student.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Nurul Islam, MD final part student, examined in July 2021.
He hasn't done the physical exam. So he's going to do it as a short case now.
Short case,
Right. So Professor Meshkat, what would you ask him to examine?
Probably he has already examined the patient. তাই না?
He hasn't, sir.
He has not.
He can examine the cardiovascular system as a whole.
As a short case.
Yeah.
So short case এ কত সময় পায় রুগীরা? 4 to 5 minutes.
শর্ট কেসে ম্যাডাম 6 মিনিট করে থাকে, মানে টোটাল 20 মিনিটস 6 মিনিট করে 3টা করতে পারে। কিন্তু it again depends, হয়তো একটা কেসের মধ্যে 2টা শর্ট কেস হয়ে যেতে পারে। আমি তো পেশেন্টের ডায়াগনোসিস সম্পর্কে জানি না, তো মানে ও তো কন্টিনিউ করতেছে লং কেসের এক্সামিনেশন হিসেবে, সেই জন্য।
But the thing is, the more short case that you can see, the more chances are that you will pass. So
Ji, ma'am.
examinees really need to brush up their act, because sometimes examiners are not that helpful. They will just allow you to go on doing, and then at the end of the time, you'll just finish 2 cases. So here also the registrar has to play a very vital role, just say that, sir, time is, they can at least move on, or just ask to examine the precordium or something like that, or auscultate. Because we want one thing students should remember, the examiner always wants to help you. This, the examinee should always keep in mind, because the examiner is there to help you. So if you don't, create your own problems and usually the examinees are so nervous, they dig their own hole. So don't say anything, give yourself time, at least 20 seconds before you say something, and go ahead and do things coolly and symmetrically. So Dhiman,
Times in short case we ask the examinee to just auscultate in the base of the heart, just auscultate at the base of the heart. And on the in other cases we may ask the examinee to examine the whole cardiovascular system. It depends upon the case that he is examining. Maybe in the first case we want to find out his competency on short case. And thereafter, probably in 6 or 7 minutes, we can complete another 2 cases.
He's already done the general examination. So
Since this patient, since we have heard about this patient's history, probably it appeared to me that the examination of the whole cardiovascular system will be relevant for this patient.
absolutely. So that's what he is doing. Let us see what he comes up with. Thank you.
So probably he has also gone through this history, and he should have something back in his mind, what he is expecting from this patient, while the examiner is asking him to see the cardiovascular system. which generally examiner does not.
When do you start having your MD examinations, Professor Meshkat, the viva and the orals and everything? At
Ekhano
Bombay?
date has not yet been fixed. Not date for viva or clinical examination. At least I have not received any information.
Well, I just saw him do something which is an absolute no-no, and it ensures that you fail the exam. He auscultated the base of the lungs without removing the gown or uplifting the gown and listening. So he listened over the dress. You can never, ever do that. Never, ever. Because the scratching of the cloth can also give you a false added sound. You can't do that. So, Professor Meshkat, your questions. He's finished his examination.
Yes, madam, I agree with you because even after all these years, I need to expose the patient to when I look to hear his lung. I can hear the heart over the dress, but while you are auscultating the lung, it is so difficult if you don't expose the patient. Even years after you have passed the studentship, probably throughout your whole life, you need to auscultate the patient after unexposing the patient's back.
So I would like to examine the relevant like JBP, pulse, and blood pressure of this patient to complete.
Smart, because I have not asked you to see the relevant. Probably my instruction was a little wrong. And at this point, I'm little impressed with you because I should have mentioned that you have heard the history from your colleague student, and then now you can examine the cardiovascular system in the context of what you feel relevant. ঠিক আছে, বলো তাহলে।
Precordial examination of my patients reveals apex located left fifth intercostal space just lateral to the midclavicular line, and which is forceful and well sustained. There is a loud first heart sound, and aortic component of the second heart sound is soft. There is a low pitch localized rough rumbling mid-diastolic murmur located in the apex, which is best heard in the left lateral position, breath hold after expiration with the bell of the stethoscope in left lateral position after breath hold with after expiration. And grade of the murmur is 3/6, 3/4. and there was no presystolic accentuation. And there's also an ejection systolic murmur in the right second intercostal space, which is harsh, and grade of the murmur is 3/6, and that radiate to the both carotids. Lung bases are clear, no other added sound found.
What is the grade of the murmur in the mitral area?
This
You one time said that it is 3/6, next time you get it
3/4, so diastolic murmur 3/4.
3/4. 4,
This is diastolic murmur, and systolic murmur is 3/6.
3/6. Is there any thrill there?
No, sir.
I'm a bit confused actually. First of all, I think Professor Meshkat asked you to examine the cardiovascular system, didn't ask you to examine the precordium. So his instruction was pretty broad. And my understanding is that in the cardiovascular system, you have to examine the pulse, and you were rightly pointed that you could not examine the JVP and the blood pressure as you hadn't done it, you were asking permission. So the thing was your examiner asked you to examine the cardiovascular system, and then he instructed you to tell him the findings as per the history that you had heard. But the whole instruction had been focused on cardiovascular system. He never asked you to just focus on the precordium. So this is another very common mistake we as examinees tend to do. We do not follow the examiner's instructions. Professor Meshkat?
Right, madam. When he took the permission of focusing his examination on the focused portion from the history, I agreed with him. But after completing his finding of precordial examination, he should have referred about the pulse and the JPP, because pulse is very important in this patient from the history and clinical examination. This patient could have irregular pulse. This patient could have anacrotic pulse, and JVP is also important. Whether at least there is no pulsation in the neck could have been sufficient to make us understand that he doesn't have any pulmonary hypertension or any right-sided failure. Normal neck, there is no pulsation in the neck. The simple word could make us happy about his not examining the neck vein. So these few things could make him smart.
And the findings of the precordium.
Particularly for this patient, measuring the blood pressure is also important.
My next question, have you seen this patient prior to today in the wards?
No,
You have not seen this patient in the ward. But your examination, I mean, it really sound very professional. And you want to make any comment?
Yes, diastolic murmur grading is 3/4.
I am unaware of this. Who said it is 3/4? Isn't it always by 6? I mean, the thing is, there are 6 now.
Six.
1 is you can barely hear the murmur. 2, okay, you can hear it. 3, you can hear it well. 4, it is associated with a thrill. 5, it is like you can hear it very easily. And 6 is even when you're not, your belly is or your diaphragm is not touching the precordium, you can hear it. These are the 6. Where did you learn that in diastolic it is 4? I mean, it is the same for systolic as well as diastolic. That is our understanding. Where did you learn that for diastolic it is only 4?
sorry, ma'am, I can't keep the reference right now.
Huh?
I think I have read in some.
Sir, is there anything like this, sir?
I am also unaware about, I was unaware about this distinction, systolic and diastolic murmur, but at the same time, I am also curious about knowing this. when he was mentioning about the grading of the murmur separately for aortic and mitral, for systolic murmur and diastolic murmur, then he looked confident. I thought that it may be reasonable to differentiate, because for diastolic murmur, you can have different grading system. But as Madam said, I'm also not aware about that. So he can defend himself.
Where did you learn about this? This grading is different for diastolic and systolic. I mean, we are unaware of it. Maybe this is something that has come up new. So we want to learn from you. Where did you learn about this difference in grading?
So, ma'am, I can't give the reference right now, but I have read somewhere in.
So
my thought
another
on both.
tip for examinees, never ever say anything that you cannot give reference to. Right? Well, one thing maybe I can say is that usually diastolic murmurs usually are more softer than systolic murmurs, generally speaking. But so the maximum, so that is one thing, but I'm not aware that there is difference.
Madam, it looks reasonable to separate these two entities. Maybe we'll be able to find out it somewhere. But to me, that it seems reasonable to make a difference between systolic and diastolic murmur when we are referring to grading.
Right. So do you want to ask him questions about his clinical examination and also comments on his how he presented his clinical findings?
No, madam. As I said, he has not mentioned anything about pulse and blood pressure or jugular venous pressure. He could have mentioned all these things very quickly.
Sir,
When
what
to-
he has mentioned, sir, murmur in the aortic area with radiation to both carotids. Is it the way, or should be mentioned that both necks?
Both are correct, I think. When he is examining a patient, he is not really expressing his thing in terms of a layman. So he can specify this as carotid or as neck.
What Professor Meshkat is saying, that when he gives the history of the patient, it always has to be in the patient's language. Patient gets breathless, patient feels short of breath, etc. You cannot use terms like orthopnea, dyspnea, etc. But here he's presenting his findings and he's talking as a physician. So he knows that the main artery that is going up is the carotids. But his examination, you sounded very, I mean, you didn't sound confident. That is something that we were looking for. It sounded more like you knew the findings and you were just sort of telling us that. That's why I asked you the question, have you seen this case before?
One thing I was saying that after seeing the patient, there is two maneuvers.
Yes.
One is in the pulmonary area, that is taking the breath
Breath
and
hold after inspiration.
inspiration. That is for the pulmonary area. And in the aortic area, breath holding expiration. Did you did two things
Yes.
separately?
Yes.
You must do two things separately. Because radiation to the neck, I think you don't do, you did one.
So what is your finding? What is your clinical diagnosis?
My clinical diagnosis is aortic stenosis with mitral stenosis. And patient is not in sinus rhythm. Patient is not in sinus rhythm. Maybe
You were asked to examine the cardiovascular system, so you must do a good job of examining the pulse, right?
yes, ma'am.
So, what is your comment on the pulse?
Sorry, ma'am. I did not systemically examine the pulse. Just I put my finger on the carotids that gave me impression that patient is not in sinus rhythm.
So do you have any differential diagnosis? when the examiner asks you about the diagnosis, you can express in two ways. You can mention about the diagnosis itself if you're very confident that there are rare possibility of having any differential diagnosis. That is okay. And when you may have some differential diagnosis close differential diagnosis, then probably you should answer in a way that I want to offer some differential diagnosis. Particularly in this case, you have mentioned about a single diagnosis. So you do not have any differential diagnosis, right? Do you have any differential diagnosis? Because already you have given us an impression about that you know the case while you were mentioning about the findings, and now you are mentioning about a single diagnosis. That is why I was asking whether this patient could have any differential diagnosis or not.
Clinical examination and short case, you always have to have some differential diagnosis, right? In our last, the week before this, there was this presentation on hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy, and Dr. Monwar was making a comment that a student failed the examination short case because his first diagnosis was hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. Now you can't do that, right? Unless you know the clinical diagnosis, you can't. So he should have clinically talked about aortic stenosis, and then as a differential, he should have gone to that, but he didn't do that. So if even sometimes, when we know the case, that is more of a hindrance than a help to us, because then, we start having a tunnel vision. So if you had not known, so there are two murmurs. What could the possible other differentials be?
One is the diastolic murmur
And the
and
systolic
another is the systolic murmur.
DD for each murmur or DD as a
As
whole?
a whole.
As a whole, for
As a
this
whole,
patient,
for
it
this
is always for this patient. Okay, we always are talking about this patient.
HCM can be
and everything. This patient has a systolic murmur and the mid diastolic murmur.
there will be ejection systolic murmur, and if that is having associated tremor, there will be systolic murmur, flow murmur to the mitral.
Low murmur in the mitral area,
It is flow.
but that flow murmur will not have getting of 4/3 as by you or 3/6 as by us. It will be
That's
more
mhm.
softer.
Or it can be a case of ASD also. Pulmonary flow murmur, I am confusing with the aortic stenosis.
Could it be PDA if you're hearing two murmurs together? Continuous murmur, could that be a different?
The two different murmur is the two different place actually.
So exactly, now you have started to think. So if the examiner leads you to a pit, don't go into it, right? So the answer would be yes. I mean, there's a systolic and a diastolic component, but this is not continuous. It's rather separate, and I'm hearing them in two distinct areas. Therefore, the diagnosis of PDA is unlikely. So you give the differentials, but you say that because of this diagnosis is unlikely. So you yourself said that the possibility of a continuous murmur could have been a possible PDA, but however, as I heard the diastolic very distinctly in the apex, I heard the opening snap, I heard the first heart sound loud, and my systolic murmur is in the aortic area with a radiation to the neck, I think these are two separate entities. And I therefore believe that it is, and the diagnosis of PDA is unlikely. The diagnosis, there is a possibility that this could be an ASD with, but the systolic component is harsh. I've already said that. The systolic component is harsh. It is radiating towards the neck. With an ASD, it would not usually radiate to the neck. That would be very unlikely. And there is no splitting of the
No
second
splitting.
heart sound. Rather, I found that the second heart sound was soft.
Single
I've
sound.
already mentioned that. Therefore, the diagnosis of ASD with a flow murmur is also unlikely. So that is how you tell your differentials, and you also counteract and say that that's why I feel that this is unlikely. So my likely clinical diagnosis is what you said. Okay. So that's how you answer.
Another thing, sir, I want to mention you can't say the patient is not in sinus rhythm, because this you can't say. I think so. In our studentship, we have heard this. This is a, you can see, as because there is a chance of you to tell that patient is not in sinus rhythm by clinical way. When you mention that first heart sound is loud, then you should mention that it is variable. Then we will understand that the patient is not in sinus rhythm. Or when you mention that second heart sound is soft, then you also mention it is also variable. Then we learn, because variable second first heart sound in this patient, what is the differential?
Only variable sound. Atrial fibrillation.
Then speak loud.
Atrial fibrillation.
Atrial fibrillation. Next,
Ball,
other thing,
ball valve thrombus.
ball valve thrombus. Ball valve thrombus is a anatomical diagnosis for the patient with a variable first heart sound in this patient.
See, please don't mention uncommon things. You see, now he's trying to dig a hole for himself, from which he will have very difficulty in getting out.
Different ventricular ectopics, paroxysmal ventricular ectopics, or atrial ectopics even. You cannot differentiate. It is very tough to differentiate atrial fibrillation with paroxysmal ventricular contraction. So these two important differentials are anything.
No, I had to mention something about the differential diagnosis.
Yes, sir, yes.
For all practical purpose, when we get a systolic murmur on the second right intercostal space in an adult patient, then we really have very limited differential diagnosis with along with soft aortic component of the second heart sound. For all practical purpose, we do not have any much differential diagnosis of that aortic stenosis. But for young people, you may have some differential diagnosis like pulmonary stenosis, supracrystal ventricular septal defect, coarctation of the aorta, and other things. So particularly if you are being practical and confident, then you could say that it is difficult for me in an adult patient to make any differential diagnosis of aortic stenosis, which is pragmatic. What I feel is pragmatic. So this could reflect your maturity. But but there can be some differential diagnosis, one or two differential diagnosis for the mid-diastolic murmur that is also present along with this systolic murmur. So be confident and be pragmatic at a time. Our examination system is not being designed in such a manner that we can judge much about your maturity and what you have done throughout your whole residency course as a practical clinical examiner. So I mean, our মনে হয় যে this is how you could show your maturity. কি বলেন ম্যাডাম? আসলে কিন্তু aortic stenosis খুব ডিফারেন্সিয়াল ডায়াগনোসিস বলা যায় না। কম্পোনেন্ট অফ দ্য সেকেন্ড হার্ট সাউন্ড নরমাল কিংবা একটু লাউড থাকে তাহলে হয়তো স্ক্লেরোসিস অফ দ্য aortic valve বলা যায়। কিন্তু এই পেশেন্টের জন্য since this patient also has got fever, probably the mid-diastolic murmur, probably, but again the intensity does not really give any support to that diagnosis. It could be CARICOM murmur since the patient is also giving the history of fever. But I don't think I should bring that into differential diagnosis. সো এই কেসে তুমি যদি খুব স্ট্রংলি বলতে পারো যে আসলে ইট ইজ ডিফিকাল্ট টু মেক ডিফারেন্সিয়াল ডায়াগনোসিস ফর মি, তাহলেও কিন্তু ভালো শোনাতো আমার মনে হয়। ইউ কুড হ্যাভ লুক কনফিডেন্ট আমার মনে হয়।
So shall we move on to the next case now?
Yes, madam. I think,
So
maybe
maybe
bring him here.
Professor Meshkat, shall we go for a next?
জি ম্যাডাম।
Right, thank you. তো ওনাকে পাঠিয়ে দিলে হয়, তাই না? হ্যাঁ, thank you, ভাই।
Thank you, sir.
Sometimes it occurs in the mitral area or in the left parasternal area. The systolic murmur of the aortic stenosis is best heard in the left sternal edge. Then probably you can have differential diagnosis. But when a candidate mentioned about the second right, the murmur is of maximum intensity in the second right intercostal space, then we have really only very few differential diagnoses. তাই না ম্যাডাম?
Absolutely. So এখন আমরা, we can move to our next case and we can ask one of the
Sure.
examinees to come.
Dr. Asif will be examining this patient.
So Professor Meshkat, what are your instructions for our examinee? And this is our second short case.
Same patient.
No, no, another patient. We've given
another
another patient now.
You can examine the precordium, and if you feel anything relevant should be examined, you can also examine that portion.
Sir, he has completed his exam in the precordium.
I want to check the JPPs, all the peripheral pulses and blood pressure to measure to correlate my findings, sir.
Okay, you just describe what you have found.
The precordial examination of my patient reveals the shape of the chest is normal and there is a scar mark in the in the left side of the chest, and there's visible pulsation in the apex, and there's also some visible pulsation in the neck, and the scar mark is parasternal actually. And so on palpation, the apex beat is located in the left sixth intercostal space, just lateral to the midclavicular line, which is forceful and sustained. And there is a diastolic thrill in the apical area, and there is also left parasternal hip and epigastric pulsation, and there is palpable P2, and there is also a systolic thrill in the aortic area. On auscultation, sir, the first heart sound is loud, and the first heart sound is loud, but the second heart sound is soft, and there is a low pitch localized rough rumbling mid diastolic murmur, which is heard in the apical area with the breath hold in patient in left lateral position, with breath hold after expiration, with the bell of the stethoscope, with pitch history accentuation. And there is also a pansystolic murmur heard in the mitral area, which radiates to the left axilla. I have also appreciated a harsh ejection system murmur in the aortic area, which radiates to both carotids. And I have also found a early diastolic murmur in the left upper parasternal region in sitting posture with breath hold after expiration. And the lung bases are clear, sir.
So your diagnosis is?
So from the above clinical finding, this is most likely to be a case of multiple valvular heart disease that resembles mitral stenosis with aortic stenosis, and there may be some mitral regurgitation along with aortic regurgitation also, sir.
Okay, you have described the murmur very nicely, and almost all of your clinical finding that you have described nicely, but you are missing just one single thing, which bothers me a lot. You have mentioned about the second heart sound. There is aortic component of the second heart sound was soft, but you have not mentioned anything about the pulmonary component. You have mentioned about parasternal lift. Did you?
Yes, sir.
And you have also mentioned about some pulsation in the neck, but you have omitted about the pulmonary component of the second heart sound. So try to be very practical, very pragmatic. You could impress me a lot by making a diagnosis of both mitral stenosis and mitral regurgitation, aortic stenosis and aortic regurgitation. And since you have described the murmur very well, but you have missed one very important thing. What is about the pulmonary component of the second heart sound?
Component of the second heart sound seem to be loud, sir.
Why seems to be loud?
Because there is a presence of pulmonary hypertension, sir.
Why it should be seems to be loud? Either
Loud, sir.
In
seems-
examination, you can say sim. Sir,
আচ্ছা না ঠিক আছে
sir, another thing I want to add in this patient, you have mentioned a scar mark in the chest wall. How will you correlate with this, your findings, and in your diagnosis, it doesn't mention about the scar mark, where the scar mark is and what area, and where does it signifies anything with your diagnosis?
Sir, as I didn't take the history, but the location of the scar mark signifies maybe he had a history of surgery like Sir, close metal commissurotomy or like this, sir.
What?
মানে
Closed metal
commissurotomy
commissurotomy,
or like this.
CMC,
Yes, sir.
CMC. The scar mark extend from the
Sir,
extension should be told in the, I think in the short case or long case. It is a part is in the anterior wall and in the part is in the lateral surface.
yes, sir.
And in the fourth, almost in the, it is in the, I have seen counted, you have counted,
Yes.
it is in the fourth intercostal
Yes.
space. Then anything on the lateral side in the fourth intercostal space radiate to the back, where is scar mark. There is a scar mark in the back. Is it the same procedure or different procedure?
I'm not sure
And
about that.
another scar mark is, if this patient has a scar mark, his scar mark is very important in this patient, with your diagnosis. Another scar mark starts from here and radiate almost to the back. Not open. Open metal commissurotomy is always you have to open the heart.
Press down, yes.
So in case when you have many findings and you have many differential, you have got many diagnoses as well. And in that case, you try to be very precise about your diagnosis and the clinical clues that brings you to that diagnosis. Particularly for this patient, he had so many interesting findings to correlate, because this patient could have CMC and post-CMC. We know in many cases after closed mitral commissurotomy, there can be re-stenosis of the mitral valve, and along with this aortic valve involvement. Pulmonary hypertension is one of the important components that you have missed. So particularly in this type of cases, we do not want to cross the examining, because you have found many findings and you could correlate well. So in those cases, you do not face much question.
CMC, yeah, CMC, almost CMC is done. There is a scar mark there. And will you find the P6 application? You mentioned P6 application. Will there be P6 application?
At a times when you have got a scar mark in the chest, probably which is due to some sort of surgery which was done earlier part of his life, then the examiner can ask you only to inspect the patient and can ask you to get some differential diagnosis. Be careful about also that, and be prepared about this question. What could be the condition which give rise to such incision in the lateral and the anterior part of the chest wall? Can you mention those things?
If it is in the lateral part of the chest, it is PDA closer. It is PDA closer. And if it is in the part of the anterior wall of the chest, slightly to the lateral part, it is CMC most likely. And if it is in the lateral part extending to the back, then it is PDA closer.
We can move to our next phase
Yes,
now, right?
Yes, madam. So with permission, Sanjay. So we're getting into the next part with instrument, right, Dr. Shamim? Shamim, আমরা কি X-ray দিচ্ছি, আমরা কি দিচ্ছি instrument? ECG দিয়ে. Okay. So we are starting with ECG.
To show two ECGs, one X-ray or two X-rays and two instruments, right? And this is going to be a rapid fire round type of thing, okay?
Yes.
And we hope to finish by 11:30. And grateful that Professor Meshkat is with us to share his knowledge and wisdom and expertise.
Madam, today I cannot bend my back because of your presence. I have to be very alert and
No, that is being very, you are the boss here. You're the expert in clinic, and you're the examiner. So I am a bit overwhelmed by your presence, honestly. So this is the first
The first
ECG.
ECG.
Volunteer.
Someone from page.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Abdullah Harun, Phase B resident cardiology. This is 12 lead standard surface ECG showing there is a ST elevation in lead V1 to V6, one AVL, and there is a QOAB in V1 to V6, one AVL. Patient is not in sinus rhythm, and there is peer interval is variable. PP interval is fixed and RR interval is fixed, and heart rate, ventricular rate is almost 40 beats per minute, and atrial rate is 100 beats per minute. So, so my diagnosis is, so this is acute extensive.
Dhiman, ek minute. Can you hold for a minute? Ek minute too.
Yes, sir. Sir, you speak, sir. Yes, sir. Nice, sir. Nice.
Sorry.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. You speak. Harun, you say your
Some-
diagnosis.
So my diagnosis is acute extensive anterior MI with complete heart block.
You have spoken ventricular rate, atrial rate, extensive anterior MI with complete heart block. PR is variable.
Yes.
Okay. Sir, anything, sir?
What is about T inversion in lead 2, 3 and AVF?
Inversion lead to 3 and yes.
So this is reciprocal change.
Reciprocal change is not the term. You should say, I think so, it is sir will tell. It is almost, you should say inferior ischemia.
Yes, sir.
You should say inferior ischemia.
Associated ischemic থাকতে পারে, sir.
Meshkar sir?
Yes, maybe there is inferior ischemia. You should not mention about the reciprocal change, but what else could be? Because the T wave is much more deeper than usual. In the context of complete heart block, what else could be there as the cause for T inversion in lead 2, 3 and AVF? What are the causes of deep T inversion? I'm happy with the diagnosis that you have made, the extensive anterior myocardial infarction along with complete heart block that make you pass, no doubt. but we'll be happy. We would be more happy if you could mention about the cause for this T inversion in 2,3 AVF other than ischemia.
Maybe, sir, electrolyte imbalance.
Maybe, but one of the cause could be post-stroke Adams syndrome. In post-stroke Adams syndrome, you can have deep T inversion. There are few causes for deep T inversion, like so-called subendocardial infarction, cerebral T, and the cerebral T is due to post-stroke Adams syndrome and hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So in the context of complete heart block, if you ever get any deep T inversion in the chest lead or in the limb lead, then you can think about post-stroke Adams syndrome T inversion.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is very important. So
Next.
did you understand it? Deep T inversion has 3 or 4 important differentials. Number
Yes,
one differentials is a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, subendocardial MI, or cerebral T. The cerebral T are due to this post-stroke Adams syndrome. Yes. And in the presence of this case, there is a deep T inversion in case of 2,3 AVF. It is ischemia event, and the other differentials will be post-stroke Adams syndrome or cerebral T.
Yes.
Sir, okay, sir?
Okay,
Sir,
and
we go
next,
to the
next ECG, please.
sir.
Thank you.
Assalamu sir, I am Dr. Kamal Hassan, FSB resident. 12-bit surface ECG showing rhythm is irregular. There is a absent P wave, and there is a ST elevation in the lead 2, 3, and ABF. And also ST elevation in the anterior B1 to B5, B5.
ST elevation,
ST depression, sir.
depression, yes,
Depression.
not elevation.
Elevation,
In B1 to B5,
B5.
yes. Next,
So my ECG diagnosis, the case of acute ST elevated inferior MI with atrial fibrillation.
atrial fibrillation. Anything you want to add? ST depression and T inversion in B1 to B6, ST depression in B1 to B5
With anti-ischemia.
and ischemia. Sir, anything, sir?
Always try to mention the heart rate when you have made a diagnosis of atrial fibrillation, whether this patient has got fast ventricular rate or not.
It's fast ventricular rate.
Always mention it. Always mention it. And have you looked at the nature of ST depression in lead 1 and lead B5? Is it which fits with ischemia or it fits with any other thing? Is it symmetrical, T inversion?
No, sir. It's symmetrical, no, sir. It's symmetrical.
What else could be there other than ischemia?
Sir mentioned that ST depression in B1 and ST depression in B5.
Yes,
There
sir.
are different. You see?
Lead 1 and B, lead 1 AVL and V5. And also in V1, V2, V3 is different.
So it's
There is not ST depression is taking a pattern in B5.
so it's maybe Wallen.
Yes? বলো জোরে বলো
Wallenstein.
Wallenstein, where Wallenstein? এটা Wallenstein No, Evalenson is not this. ST depression in V5, there is a pattern. You see, there are two arms of ST depression after T inversion. You see, the first arm is long and there is a T inversion, then goes the upper arm. What is this? I have given you the lead.
V1 sir, it's my first.
Sir,
Okay, so far তুমি যতটুকু বলছো, you can pass with that, with the diagnosis of inferior myocardial infarction and complete heart block. It makes you pass. But to me, the nature of ST depression looks more that goes with left ventricular hypertrophy. But particularly in these cases, since we cannot have left atrial enlargement, features of left atrial enlargement due to absence of P wave. But if you look at the voltage criteria in V5, although it does not satisfy the voltage criteria, but to me it appears it could be the atrial fibrillation was probably due to left ventricular hypertrophy resulting from hypertension, and then this patient has suffered from acute myocardial infarction.
yes,
Also,
sir.
atrial fibrillation can occur as a result of acute myocardial infarction. As a whole, total concept নিতে পারলে ভালো হয় আর কি।
In ECG, sir, is that from ECG, you should take a total conception of the patient. As the patient has atrial fibrillation with inferior MI, and there is ST depression pattern in B5 simulating almost to the strain pattern. And the one thing is different from this is that there is no voltage criteria is positive. So if the scenario is asked to you, then you can say this patient having hypertension, and from hypertension, he had a diastolic dysfunction which dilated the LA, and there is atrial fibrillation, and giving rise to a risk factor of hypertension, giving rise to MI. And in MI, you can have atrial fibrillation also. How it is possible? In inferior MI, if there is atrial fibrillation, a patient with an inferior MI has no atrial fibrillation, and a patient with inferior MI has atrial fibrillation. What will be your evaluation for these two patients? Yeah, same or different?
Different, sir.
Why do you, what difference? A patient has inferior MI with sinus rhythm, and a patient with inferior MI with atrial fibrillation. A patient with inferior MI with atrial fibrillation has extensive infarction involving the left atrium area, left atrium supply. So he has had an atrial fibrillation. Sir, okay, sir.
Okay.
Next.
So next, Dr. Faria, please. Sorry, Dr. Maliha. So Faria. Dr. Maliha, please.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. I'm Dr. Maliha Islam, Phase B Western Cardiology. Sir, this is extra chest, posterior anterior view showing hazy opacities involving both lung fields extending from the hilum. Sir, the cardiac shadow. So the cardiac shadow is slightly enlarged in the transverse diameter. So the trachea is centrally placed. The bony shadow is normal. The costa and cardiophrenic angles are normal.
What about the heart border?
Maliha, have you finished?
Sir,
This patient has got typical picture of a disease that everyone knows. No one will ask you about the diagnosis in this patient. but examiner will expect that you describe every part of it. The positive finding that is there in the X-ray should be mentioned by you.
So there's a straightening of the left border, the heart, and
Is it really straight, left border? আমার কাছে তো আঁকা বাঁকা লাগতেছে। Straight কি? দেখো পালমোনারি কম্পাউন্ড, পালমোনারি কোনাসটা বাল্জ হয়ে আছে, ওটার মাঝখানে একটু বের মতো আছে। ওদিকে আবার অ্যাওটার সাথে পালমোনারি সেটা বাল্জ হওয়ার কারণে একটু বের মতো আছে, তাই না? স্ট্রেট লাইন তো না। লেফট বর্ডার, লেফট বর্ডার কি কি দিয়ে হয় বলতো? what are the structure that forms the left border of the heart?
left atrium. So,
অলওয়েজ মানে লার্নিং প্রসেসটা তোমাদের এরকম হওয়া উচিত না, পুরো মেকানিজমটা জেনে তারপর স্ট্রেটেনিং যে বলো তোমরা, স্ট্রেটেনিংটা কিন্তু অনেক সময় হয় কি যে এই পালমোনারি হাইপারটেনশনের জন্য দি বালজিং অফ দ্য পালমোনারি আর্টারি যদি এতটা বালজ না করতো তাহলে কিন্তু স্ট্রেটই হতো, বুঝছো?
right, sir.
সময় হয়তো স্ট্রেট ছিল, বাট নাও দ্য পালমোনারি আর্টারি হ্যাজ বালজড ফার্দার, সো দ্য স্ট্রেটেনিং অফ দ্য লেফট বর্ডার হ্যাজ গন অ্যাওয়ে। তো এটা বলতে যে এখন তোমাকে আমরা উই আর আস্কিং অ্যাবাউট হোয়াট আর দ্য স্ট্রাকচার ফর্মিং দ্য লেফট বর্ডার, সেটা যদি না পারো তখন কিন্তু তুমি ইউ ক্রিয়েট আ ব্যাড ইমপ্রেশন। বুঝতে পারছো মালিহা? প্রথম থেকে বলো উপর থেকে নিচে, হোয়াট আর দ্য স্ট্রাকচার দ্যাট কনস্টিটিউট দ্যাট।
নিচে
দেখো এটা কিন্তু কত সহজ একটা এক্সরে, তাই না? দেখে মনে হবে যে ডায়াগনোসিস আমি করতে পারবো, কিন্তু সহজ জিনিসেই এক্সামিনার তখন আবার কঠিন হয়ে যায় যখন মনে করে যে বেসিক কিছু জিনিস ধরবে। উপর থেকে নিচ পর্যন্ত বলো।
সবচেয়ে উপরে কি ফর্ম করে লেফট বর্ডারে?
Pulmonary conus.
পালমোনারি কোনাস না তার উপরে কিছু আছে? তুই এটা দেখো আমার দিকে,
তার উপরে কি থাকে?
তারপরে কি থাকে পালমোনারি কোনাসের উপরে?
অ্যাওটিক
Aortic knuckle.
অ্যাওটিক নাকল এখানে কি আছে দেখতে পাচ্ছ?
অ্যাওটিক নাকেল এখানে আছে?
No, sir.
নাই?
এটাও কিন্তু একটা পজিটিভ ফাইন্ডিং, তাই না? ইনকনসপিকিউয়াস অ্যাওটিক নাকল which is a feature of submitral stenosis, তাই না?
Right, sir.
কিন্তু স্ট্রেটেনিং হয় নাই, একটা সময় হয়তো স্ট্রেটেনিং ছিল, বাট ডিউ টু বালজিং, ফার্দার বালজিং অফ দ্য পালমোনারি আর্টারি, ইট হ্যাজ নাও দ্যাট কম্পোনেন্ট হ্যাজ বালজড আউট। বুঝতে পারছো? এখন স্ট্রেট নাই। ওকে, ইউ হ্যাভ টু মেনশন অ্যাবাউট আদার ফাইন্ডিংস।
আর কি আছে বলো?
Sir, double right heart border, আছে, sir.
Okay, the outer border is formed by which structure?
Sir, right atrium.
Okay, and the inner one?
Sir, right ventricle, right auricle.
Left atrium. সাধারণত লেফট অ্যাট্রিয়ামের এই বর্ডারটা স্পাইনের পিছনে থাকে। Since the left atrium has enlarged, it has also pushed down the right atrium further to the right. কিন্তু এটার জন্য বললো না যে আউটার বর্ডার ইজ ফর্মড বাই দ্য লেফট অ্যাট্রিয়াম। বুঝতে পারছো? খুব সিম্পল জিনিস, অনেক সময় মিস্টেক হয়। The outer border is formed by the right atrium because the enlarged left atrium has pushed it further to the right. And since the left border lies behind the sternum, it is usually do not appreciated. বুঝতে পারছো কেন দুইটা ডাবল বর্ডার দেখা যাচ্ছে? আর কি, what are the other features of left atrial enlargement you can see?
আর কি দেখা যাচ্ছে এখানে? আর কি দেখা
লেফট atrial enlargement এর আর কোনো ফিচার দেখা যাচ্ছে? এই দেখো বেসিক জিনিসগুলো মিস করলে ডায়াগনোসিস আমরা জানতে চাই না।
এখানে দেখা যাচ্ছে একটা জিনিস
খুব সুন্দর দেখা যাচ্ছে, এটা তো ক্লাসিক্যাল একটা ইসে না, এক্সরেটা রেখে দেওয়া উচিত। অল ক্লাসিক্যাল পিকচার্স আর দেয়ার, ক্লাসিক্যাল পিকচার অফ ইনকনসপিকিউয়াস aortic knuckle, classical picture of double border, classical picture of
Bifurcation is white, sir.
ক্যারেনাটা হোয়াইট।
Widening of the carina, actually, you said is tracheal bifurcation.
widening of the carina, splaying of the left ব্রঙ্কাস দেখতে পাচ্ছ? ব্রঙ্কাস আছে। ক্যারিনার অ্যাঙ্গেল নরমালি কত বলো তো? কেন এটা ওয়াইড বলছো?
কতটুকু অ্যাঙ্গেলে নরমাল? ক্যারিনা
Sir,
কতটুকু নরমাল?
So 90 degrees.
শুনে খুব বেসিক জিনিসগুলো শিখবা, মানে mitral stenosis is the basic thing and this is one of the important X-ray almost always you'll get in the examination. So try to learn every basic of it. নাহলে কিন্তু মানে শেখাটা ভালো হয় না। ওকে, আর কিছু পজিটিভ ফাইন্ডিং সবগুলো বলতে হবে তোমাকে, আমি ডায়াগনোসিস জিজ্ঞেসই করবো না।
খুব ইম্পর্টেন্ট পজিটিভ ফাইন্ডিং। ভাস্কুলার মার্কিং গুলো কি আছে?
It's prominent, sir.
কোথায় প্রমিনেন্ট
So
ছাড়া?
upper lobar
হ্যাঁ, upper lobe
diversion,
diversion.
diversion assist.
আপর লোব দেখো সবগুলো একদম
Which is the feature of upper lobe diversion? কিসের ফিচার? মালিহা, upper lobe diversion কিসের ফিচার?
Sir, MS এর সাথে স্যার হার্ট ফেলিয়ার থাকলে, স্যার কনজেশন থাকলে।
না তো হইলো না তো, এটা কিসের? কনজেশন ইন আর্টারি, কনজেশন ইন ক্যাপিলারি, কনজেশন ইন ভেইন, ওয়্যার?
স্যার ভেইনে, স্যার।
ওকে, তাহলে তুমি তো মেকানিজমও বলতে পারবে না আপার লোব ডাইভারশনের। আর কি পজিটিভ ফাইন্ডিং আছে বলো এই পেশেন্টের এক্সরেতে? এপেক্স সম্পর্কে কিছু বলবে? এপেক্সটা কিরকম? লেফট ভেন্ট্রিকুলার টাইপ না রাইট ভেন্ট্রিকুলার টাইপ? You are missing every basic, মালিহা। একদম বেসিক ধরে ধরে শিখবা, তাহলে you will be confident. It is again a classical picture of right ventricular type of apex. ঠিক দেখো তুমি যদি বাম দিকে, if you consider just at the point of half of the left hemithorax, অর্ধেকে এখানে এসে যখন একটা acute angle তৈরি করে, it is a very classical picture of a right ventricular type of apex. বুঝতে পারছো? Almost half of the left hemithorax and there is an acute angle. অনেকগুলো ফাইন্ডিং ছিল, তুমি বলতে পারলে না। ওকে,
Sir, as it is already 11:30, so madam, I think
So first of all, I think this was a great learning experience for all of us. And we are so grateful to Professor Meshkat for being with us all this time and giving us input and teaching us all. Thank you. And we hope that you will always be with us and guide us and teach us. And with that, I would like to say thank you to all the students, and lots of us found the deficiencies that we really want to work on so that we pass the exams. It's like cricket. You just can't go and, have a 6. You have to go on practicing, and only then when it is the match, you will be able to just, give a 6 effortlessly. So you all need a lot of practice. And with that, I would like to say thank you to everyone. And I would also like to say thank you to Incepta for supporting us in this endeavor. Thank you, Meshkat sir. And Dhiman, you want to say any concluding remarks?
Madam, thank you all. I don't want to extend this. Madam, thank you. Meshkat sir, thank you. And
Any concluding remarks? Professor Meshkat, any concluding remarks? And then we will come to a close.
Madam, thank you for having me with you. And সত্যি সত্যি I was little nervous because of your presence.
বললেন না তো, ইনশাআল্লাহ মেশকাত ভাই দেখা হবে, হ্যাঁ জি।
Especially my English become difficult in front of you. Generally English fluently বলতে পারি, কিন্তু আপনার সামনে এলোমেলো হয়ে যায়।
এরকম বললেন না মেশকাত ভাই। আচ্ছা, ইনশাআল্লাহ I and মেশকাত ভাই go a long way NICBD তে, তাই না? অনেক আজকে থেকে 25-30 বছর আগে, হ্যাঁ?
Yes, you had been my registrar at that
Yes,
time.
I was the registered, he was the student, নাকি?
Yes,
হ্যাঁ,
madam.
জি, ইনশাআল্লাহ। ভালো থেকেন মেশকাত ভাই।
Thank you, madam.